Hello, family. Hello, hello, hello. All right. We are getting started, jumping in for office hours with Dr. JT. Thank you, patience as I was logging in. The one thing about being a digital nomad is the Wi Fi internet situation. The Wi Fi here where I am in this hotel is like not good. So I am managing my Wi Fi. All right. So, welcome to Office Hours with Dr. JT. My name is Erica Jordan Thomas, and I am an education consultant. I'm an educator, I'm a former teacher, former school leader, so former principal. I just graduated last May with my doctorate in education leadership. I started my own personal consulting business in 2017, so it's been 4 years since I launched my personal consulting business. And in the past 4 years, I've grown my consulting business to be multiple six figures of yearly revenue. And I'm excited to have office hours with JT today because I have my personal consulting business and I also have Get Launch Consulting, which is my second business that is and grow their own education consulting business to six figures. So every other Thursday, I go live to and to have office hours with Dr. JT, and this is how this works for my folks who are new. I have a private Facebook group. So if you're on Instagram and you're not in my private Facebook group, if you click the link in my bio, you'll be able to join us. And in that private Facebook group, every other Thursday, we release a set of questions that the group votes on. And the three questions with the top votes, I go live the following Thursday and answer live. And so that's the get up. That is what's going down now is we have three questions that were voted on and received the most votes from our group that I'm answering today. And I'm super excited to be able to answer them. So the three questions are: what are the best on executing a business plan? So, those are the three questions that we have. And as we're going throughout our time together, please, please, please leverage the chat to be able to share thoughts, comments, reactions, feedback. If it sparks a piece of wisdom for you, please share that in the chat so that way we can learn and grow together. If it prompts a follow-up question from you, then feel free to drop that into the chat too, and I'm happy to answer that. So, we're going to start with question number one, which is the best tech tools to have in your business. And so to prepare for this call, if you see me looking over, I'm looking at my notes and I'm going live in my Facebook group as well as Instagram. So if I'm looking over, I'm either looking at my notes or looking at the other camera. But the best tech tools, I actually went through my tech stack to give you a few of tech tools that you're using in your business. So your tech stack would be: here are all the tools that I leverage in my business. So for example, someone might ask you, well, what's in your tech stack for a payment processor? You should also have like a project management tool in your tech stack. So just want to be able to share that language and that terminology because you might hear that in this space. So I went through my tech stack to give a few recommendations, and the first thing I'll note before we jump into it is that, depending on the stage of your business, it will influence what is in your tech stack or what should be in your tech stack. So that's one thing, is that your tech stack is going to be influenced by the stage of your business, because To get started, there's very few tools you're going to need, but as you grow and scale, you're going to have to intentionally add to your tech stack in order to ensure that you're setting up a course. Then you're going to need a learning management platform in your tech stack versus if you offer one-on-one coaching. And so that's another thing that I just wanted to highlight is that your tech stack can be influenced by a few things. So I'm going to share with you just a couple of recommendations, and kind of provide a little bit of kind of voiceover of what stage of your business should you be in when you start to consider some of these things. So let's start with a project management tool. So you're going to want to have, regardless of the services you provide, when you start to build your team. So usually when you get to, I would probably say, the 60K, 70K, and revenue stage, you're going to want to start bringing in some help and support. And this might be a virtual assistant for 5 or 10 hours a week. But when you get to start helping you out, and when you go from just a solopreneur to now you have a team member, then you're going to need a project management platform so that way you can keep track of the to-dos and the progress of the work that you're assigning and delegating to that team member. So when I say project management, that I mean by that is a place where you can keep track of projects, you can keep track of to-do lists, you can assign people tasks, you might have your own task list in the project management software. And so a couple of examples of project management software are Asana, Trello, ClickUp. Those are examples of project management software. Me and my team, we use Asana. That is what we use. And so those are just a couple of examples. The other piece you want to have in your tech stack is an accounting software. That accounting software needs to be. And when I say accounting software, this is something that's going to allow you to generate reports of your expenses and your revenue. So early on in your business, again, you need something. And early on in your business, the accounting software you use, you will likely be managing. And so when I first started my business, I used an app called Hurdler, HURDLR. There was no E, but that's what I used, was Hurdler. And then I transitioned into Quickbooks. And so Quickbooks is an accounting software that is built for accountants. I typically don't recommend that people start who are in the early stage of the business. So when I say early stage, like 0 to 50K of revenue, I typically don't recommend that people start with QuickBooks because you're the one who is managing your own accounting software. QuickBooks can be, it can just be really manage that for you. And so you're going to want to have some type of accounting software in your business, and you're managing your own accounting software. I shared one example of Hurdler. Another one is Wave, which is free. Wave, like an ocean wave, WAVE. And then if you're in the stage of your business 50 plus K, I would definitely recommend QuickBooks because that's when you're going to want to start tightening up your accounting systems, because you're going to need P&L statements, which is profit and loss statements. You're going to be able to run reports. You're going to want to be able to forecast. Like, you're just going to need more business structures when you get to the 50K, because again, this is setting you up for when you get to the 6-figure mark. Like, these are structures that are like non-negotiable. Like you need to have those. So that's the accounting software. A couple other tech tools that I'd recommend: Zapier. That where you can essentially connect tools that aren't naturally integrated to create automations. So, for example, one of the Zaps that we have created is when someone enrolls in Get Launched Consulting, there is a Zap that automatically enrolls them into Teachable. So that's an example of an automation or a Zap where we don't have to wait on our team to be live the next day during business hours to be enrolling people into our learning management platform. We have a Zap that automatically does that. So that is an example. So that's one tech tool I would definitely recommend early on in your business. You know, you can get away with not having Zapier. And to be honest, I don't know if Zapier has any competitors. So if there's a similar tool similar to Zapier, I don't know of that. Zapier is the most common tool that I know of to help create automations between tools. But early on in your business, you can get away with doing manual things. But then again, as you grow and scale, you're going to need automations. And Zapier is a great. You're going to need some software. And again, where you are in your business will help determine, the extent to how sophisticated that email software needs to be. A couple of different email softwares are ConvertKit. MailerLite is one that I've heard a lot of people naming. MailChimp is another example. I personally use ConvertKit, and so that is the email marketing software that me and my team uses. And when I say email marketing software, this is a place where people can opt into your mailing list. They get dropped into that software, and it allows you to efficiently and quickly send emails to your email list. So that way you're not copying and pasting everybody into a BCC line and sending emails manually. The system will set that up and do that for you. And so you're going to need an email marketing software for sure. Many of the email marketing softwares offer some type um, Destiny, if you could clarify when you said, have you ever used a different software? If you can clarify which different software you're talking about. If you're talking about for um, an email marketing software, if you're talking about something else, so that way I can make sure I'm answering the right question for you. And then another tool for email marketing software. No, I haven't used anything else. I personally don't recommend MailChimp. Actually, let me take that back. I had MailChimp for like 2 months. I personally don't recommend MailChimp. I know a lot of people use it. I think a lot of people. So here's my philosophy: is um, I value content over what your emails look like. So there are a lot of people who opt into a MailChimp because of how pretty the emails are. But if on the back end you're not able to are coming from on your email, like is a lot of lingo, which if we had more time I would definitely go into it. But I don't believe that my experience with MailChimp is A, it's not user friendly, and B, it doesn't have the features that allows you to organize your audience in a way that will give you the data reports you need to be able to market in the most to have a sophisticated marketing strategy. So yeah. So I also put down Loom as a tech tool, where you could also use Zoom for this. But Loom is a screen recording software. where you can record your screen. And I found this to be really helpful internally and externally. And so internally, like if I need my executive assistant to do something, but I need to explain how to do it rather than scheduling, a meeting, I'll just record a Loom video what of the task of me doing the task, and I'll send it to you screen record. If you're thinking about an online course and you need to record your screen for content and different modules, you can use that too. And then lastly, I put down Dipsado, which is a CRM, which stands for, I think, like client relationship management platform. Don't quote me on that, but fact check that, Google CRM. But Dubsado basically is a way that'll help you streamline your workflows and your processes to help build some automation. So Dipsado has some automation already built into it. So let me give you an example. Dipsado in Dipsado, you can create a lead capture form where basically if someone is interested in your services, they'll complete this form. And then you can set it up in Dipsado to say, all right, either I have to manually review and approve the form, or if it has these things listed on the form, then you can automatically approve. And then based off of that approval, proposal. Once they accept the proposal, it'll send them the invoice. Once they pay the invoice, it'll send them the contract. And so you can automate that entire workflow within Dubsado itself. So that way you're not manually sending all of those separate emails, because that's like 5 emails. So no, it's not a lead magnet. Dubsado is it's a CRM. So it is a place where you could go and see all of your client contracts. I would automatically send your proposals. It is a way for you to be able to automate the onboarding process for your client, not necessarily getting leads into your system. It is a way for you to be able to manage client onboarding. Dubsado is spelled D-U, and actually let me put in the chat, D-U-S-A-D-O. Hopefully this doesn't autocorrect. Oops, I'm sorry. D-U-B-S-A-D. Those are a few tools that I would just recommend. And here's the thing is, like, when I first started in my business, when I was like, my revenue, my first 3 months, October, November, December, the first 3 months of my business, I made $20K. When I was making $20K, and that was the first year, it was only, the first 3 months, because I founded my consulting business in October of 2017. I had an email address. Like, that was it. And it wasn't even like a domain email address. It was my personal email address. And so, like, I didn't have any of these tools when I started. So I just say that to say it's one of the ways that I've seen educators get in their own way of starting their education consulting business is they think they have to have these tools in order to get started. You don't. You just need to start, and then you can add on the tools. And I have found in the patterns of my own business, as well as working with clients, once you start, and actually let me transition some of my language to be monthly revenue, because monthly revenue at some serious tools in place to prepare you when you get to the 6 figures, because that's when your momentum beyond that is going to be directly dependent on the systems you have in place in your business. And so my philosophy is you want to get ahead and put something in place 3 to 6 months before you need it. All right, so Adrian asking, getting started, how do you develop and build clientele? That's a great question. And because that is a separate question than our 3 questions, Adrian, if you're not already in my Facebook group, click the link in my bio and join us, because I've answered that question on previous office hours. So that's a great question. I want to make sure you get the answer to it. And so join the Facebook group and just search the group for Build Clientele. I believe I might have also released a blog on that too. So if you go to my website, which is my name, ericajordanthomas.com, and review the blogs, I believe we may have released a blog on that same piece too. That's a great question. I want to make sure you get. I love this. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Okay, and if there are tools that you found to be really helpful in your business, share them in the chat. So that way we can build wisdom and build community together. Definitely share those in the chat. Okay, so secondly, we're talking about payment options of recommended payment options. So here's the thing is depending on your service model, it determines what are the available payment options for you. So when I say depending on your service model, there are two potential service models that you could have. You could either be a B2B model or B2C. So B2B stands business to business, which means that the contracts that you have are with actual organizations. Or you could have a B2C model, which is business to client, which means that you are the person who is paying for the service and or in contract with you as an individual. And so with a particular teacher for one-on-one coaching, and the teacher is the person who signed the contract, not their school, you have a B2C model. So based upon which model you have, it determines what payment options you should have available. So if you are B2C, you are accepting payment via credit card, or you could do a direct that people can pay like direct through their bank account information. I typically found that that's really not beneficial until you have extreme high ticket offers, to where because most of the time when people are paying directly from the bank account, it's so that way you can avoid the processing fee, and that typically isn't a huge issue until the fee that people are paying is $20,000-$30,000. It's really not worth it if it's 100 or cards or debit cards, and so that is my direct recommendation, that you're accepting payment via card, that people are not writing you, that your individual clients are not writing you checks. They need to pay with a card, and you need a checkout system, and you need a payment processor. So those are two separate things. A checkout system is the actual page where people are inputting their payment, and then the processor is what's actually happening in the background to actually debit that amount from their account. So there are some tools that integrate both of them. There are some tools that are separate. The only tool that I shouldn't say that, but like an example of a tool where they're integrated is like PayPal. PayPal offers a checkout page, and PayPal will also debit the amount from the account. You don't need to integrate it with anything. It does that. But a payment processor example would be I've attempted to do, because we use Stripe in our business, and you have to be like an engineer to actually design the page and code the page. We don't have time for that. So Stripe is a payment processor that you're often connecting to different programs that you can process the payment. So for example, if you have an online course like Teachable offers a checkout page if someone were to enroll in your online course, but Teachable does not actually process the payment. You have to integrate it with a Stripe or a PayPal. Um, there are other programs like Sam Cart, Thrive Cart, which offer checkout pages, but again, you have to integrate them with a Stripe to be able to actually process the payment. So on the B2C side, you need a checkout system and you need a payment processor. And depending on the tool that you're using, they could be one and the same. On the B2B side, which is business to business, you are typically invoicing, meaning you're sending an invoice to the client, and then given your payment terms, they are paying many organizations have finally moved towards direct deposit payment for their contractors because it saves them money on having, and it's just more efficient. But you'd be surprised by how many organizations are still cutting paper checks and putting them in the mail. And so on the B2B side, you really don't need any additional tools beyond just generating invoices, and that's what your accounting software should be able to do. Um, to be able to accept payment, because you just need a business bank account for you to either deposit the check or to be able to accept the direct deposit. So I want you to make a couple notes that I said you need a business bank account. Should not be depositing into your personal bank account. Business bank account, you need to separate your personal funds from your business funds because it is a business and you need to keep accounting records. So that's like the CEO of Target depositing money from Target into their personal bank account. Like, no, it has to be separate and it allows you to keep a clean record. I did not mention Cash App or Venmo. I think Venmo just started a business integration. I still would not recommend it. Cash App and Venmo are not business payment processors, um, meaning it could not keep uh, accurate records. You couldn't run reports of the income or payments that are coming in and out. So I just want to be really clear that anytime I'm working with someone or I'm trying to leverage someone's services and they accept payment via Cash App, red flag. Red flag. Because that means your accounting records are a mess. So that's my little rant. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions on payment options. Drop those into the chat. Happy to answer those. And let me know, give me, if you're on IG, send me some hearts if this is making sense. Tap the heart button if this is clear. If it's not clear, then I want you to put a and I think it's a really great question. Destiny says, I've been working with WordPress, but I'm not sure if they have an e-commerce. So let's clarify that a little bit. So e-commerce is would be considered to be like a product-based business, and so uh, typically when you're talking about WordPress and you're doing a plugin for e-commerce, that would be if you're selling actual products. So if you're selling journals or lots of people do like the affirmation cards or flashcards, then that would be considered e-commerce where people are placing orders, and then your website is processing those orders. You typically would not be using an e-commerce site in order to do a little research there because that's um, That's not what I use in my business, though. Our new website that we're launching on November 27th is in WordPress, but we don't have the e-commerce plugin there. Part of the e-commerce piece is thinking through, is it product or is it a service? And so if it's something that they're paying for and it requires you to take some type of action, then that's considered to be a service. If they are buying an online course and it doesn't require any action from you, then that is a product. That would be a digital product. And so it just depends, because some people, and I think this is a great clarifying question, because some people call their call something an online course, but they have a coaching component. And so that's actually a hybrid structure that is not so. You being patient with my ignorance. No, it's not. You're fine. You're asking these questions. Other people are asking them too. So I do. So this is a great question. So let's clarify what you let's break down, I should say, or unpack when you say sell your services through your WordPress site. There is the way to reframe that of because every website you have should be selling something, meaning from a marketing standpoint, you are sharing more about your offers and you have a call to action for people. When you say selling your services, the way to reframe that is, are people checking out on your website? Meaning they have the ability to put in their card and payment information and buy something. For my WordPress site, people are not checking out on my website. Let me clarify, they're not checking out on WordPress. We use Scamcart as our checkout system. And so there's a way to like link offer checkout pages. But this is the thing that, you all have to consider is, again, what's the stage of your business, right? So if you're considering a built-in integration checkout page through WordPress, if that is an option, then you should be at a few four figures, if not five figure of revenue. For folks who are early stage in their business, meaning you are looking to get your first contract, or you're trying to get your revenue more consistent, so it might be 0 to 3K per month of your revenue, there would be other questions I'd want you all to be asking and considering around your systems, rather than the integration of checking out on WordPress, because that requires, in my head, I'm thinking through all of the back end operations you need for that. It creates a lot of tension in your business. Yeah, I can recommend. So just tell me in the chat if you're doing coaching, professional development, an online course, or something else. Let me know in the chat, and then I can make some recommendations. Okay. All right. Let me take a sip of water. I feel like I'm like, even though I can't see anybody, I feel like we're like in the same room, like having good conversation. Okay, so our Destiny's letting me know that. Let's move on to the next question. Then Destiny, I'll loop back around whenever you're able to share that information. So the last question is on executing a business plan. So here's my perspective around business plans. I think in a service-based business, so service-based, not product-based, and a service-based business, I believe that a business plan is a because most of and let me first just share kind of my assumptions of when I hear business plan. I'm thinking of the business plan template that outlines all these pieces, and it outlines, your target client, your marketing strategy, how much you need in startup costs, your projected expenses, all of those things. The reason why I believe a business plan is a tool of privilege is most people are not in the there are some people who are not in the space to be considering. They don't have time to like consider all of those aspects. They just need to start. So like, for example, when I started my consulting business, I was a principal. It was October, and I knew that it was going to be my last year as a principal. I knew I was going to be time. If I got in, I would have some type of savings to be able to sustain myself, so that way I could go back to school full time and not have a job. And so I say that to say that it was October. I was going to leave my job in June. I did not have the time to spend a month writing a business plan. Like, I needed to be bringing in income. And some of the pieces of the business plan I was already clear about. Like, I knew who I wanted to serve, I knew the services. I didn't need to write it down. I believe a business plan is only beneficial when you are seeking funding. Like, that's the purpose of the business plan, is when you are approaching funders and they want to see your thinking of your business to be able to make an informed decision whether or not they're going to provide funding. That's typically when you need a business plan. So it is servicing others. I have not found that it is of service. In case you might want the reflection to like be able to see it and lay it out, but I consider it to be a really privileged process because it assumes you have the time to wait on generating revenue. It's I think of it as almost a little bit of it for those of us who are familiar with white supremacy culture. It's the written word. Like, it is like, you need to have this thing written before you can do the next thing. When I believe that has kept people from marginalized communities out of the entrepreneurship game, is this belief you need to have a written business plan. So I say that to say, to this question of tips on executing a business plan, like, just start. Like, just start. Like, when you are in the early stage of your business, meaning 0 to 3K of monthly revenue, your priority is you need to start to get, so that way you get data back and you can make informed decisions around how to evolve your business. Because the first year of your business, you are constantly iterating. Like, you have to do things in order to get clarity. And this is, oftentimes what I name for my people who are perfectionists, who are my people, because I struggle with perfectionism immensely. We think that we can find the answers by just thinking about it because we've been used to our intellectualism, like being able to move us forward. So that way you can get data back on how much time did you spend prepping, how much did you charge, did it feel right, like what was the feedback from the session, like what was the operations like you just have to do in order to move forward. So that's just my advice around tips around executing a business plan, is like, just start. And in order to start, you need at minimum clarity around the problem you're solving in your business, the client that you are going to be serving, and the services that you're going to provide. Like, even if you just have a hypothesis, just start. Like, just start and try. If you're like, I think I want to help teachers with their classroom management practices, all right, go out and do a webinar. Like, literally, each of you could do a webinar in the next 2 to 4 weeks. Like, just start, just do it, and de-associate yourself from the results, because it's a matter of getting data back so you know how to move forward. Okay, I'm going to move up. I'm going to go back up WordPress, I can blog. That makes sense. Okay. Um, yeah, so I think the questions you want to ask Destiny, and this would be whoever is helping you build your website, just asking them about that plugin, is if that is a checkout page or not. Because if you're doing coaching, like coaching, depending on your packages, you can use Calendly for that and have the paid plan to where you can accept payments. Like, you don't need an e-commerce plugin for that. You could use Calendly. For professional development, depending on if it's you're working with a school district, then that would be invoicing. You don't need a payment checkout system for that because that's a B2B structure. If you're doing a workshop and you're opening that up to the public and anybody can sign up, then that could be something that you could do through Eventbrite. You could do through, there's a product in Acuity and have people buy that product. But it's an event. So actually, let me change my language. You can have people buy an event versus buying yeah, you can have people buy the event. So that way they can go online and actually be joined to the event. Acuity, I'll put it into the chat. And I'll put that also here on Facebook. All right. So those are 3 questions. And so just if you have any final questions, drop those in now. So that way I can make sure that those will get answered because we're wrapping up here. But we've talked about a number of things here. And a couple of quick reminders and announcements is that I'm super excited because Saturday, November 27th at noon, 2 important things are happening. We are releasing our new website for Get Launch Consulting. So excited for y'all to see it. And at the same time, we're going to be releasing the application for the next group of dope ass educators. Responses so that way we can learn more about you, but it's 2 open-ended questions, so it should take you no more than 5 to 10 minutes to do. This just ensures that we're a good fit and like you're ready to do the work. And so both of those things are going to be releasing September 27th at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. So I'm super excited about that. And just want to continue to affirm that, you know, if this is something you're thinking about, and when I say this, meaning an education consulting business, it's totally possible. It's totally possible. And I would love the opportunity to work with you. So actually all the questions we talked about tonight, we go through in Get Launch Consulting. We've updated our framework to include Systematize, which is going to walk you through the systems you need to have in your business. But here's the thing, and this is, again, I love y'all. I love y'all. And most of y'all are similar to me in where you're perfectionists, just like me. If you have not gotten a single contract, you should not be thinking about your payment processor yet. Like, to have in place that causes us to wait on the money and to hold off on the money, but also like just start. And like, you know, I'd want you to consider this reality of, I don't want this to be anyone's reality, but this is oftentimes how I like the mind frame I put on to help me get clarity is, if you were to lose your job tomorrow, what would you do? Whatever's your main source of income, if that were to go away tomorrow, what would you do in your business? That's the thing you need to do today. So if for some of you, if you know, if I'm assuming the answer might be that I'm not going to focus on building a website. I'm going to be focused on finding the 5 to 10 people in my network who would be my target client and having one-on-one conversations with them to be able to pitch my services so that way I can start bringing in revenue. And then once I get the yes, that like me, it was like the college hustle mentality. And when I say hustle, I don't mean you can't rest. You can rest, but I mean like you need to go get it in your business rather than doing the fancy busy work of like, well, what's the like the tool I'm gonna use for this, or what's the system, or what's the software. It's like you will figure those things out. Go get the contract, get the money, and then we'll figure out the tools together. So if you're not already on the wait list, join the wait list. Click the link in my bio if you're on Instagram. If you're in the Facebook group, just search the group for Get Launch Consulting Waitlist. That'll pop up for you. And we're going to be opening enrollment to the public through the application on November 27th. So if you got questions about that process, just DM me. And I can't wait to work with some of you. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So have a great day. You all be safe, be well, and I will see you in 2 Thursdays. We'll see you soon.